Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been bracing yourself for a brutal summer of coastal storms, you might actually be in for a massive surprise. Right now, what is happening in our oceans is nothing short of a meteorological mystery. It's a total paradox defining this current hurricane season, and I'm super excited to guide you through it. Okay, let's dive right in.
We've got to start with this glaring contradiction that has forecasters, insurance professionals, and coastal residents basically acting as scientific detectives right now. The big question is, why is a forecasted blockbuster hurricane season so eerily quiet? I mean, we were told to prepare for the worst, yet the radar? It's remarkably clear.
Earlier this year, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, released their data and they forecasted a 60% chance of an above-average season. 60%! And the underlying drivers were definitely all there. Warmer than average sea surface temperatures, favorable wind patterns, the whole shebang. Yet, defying all the odds, the ocean is just remarkably calm.
To solve this mystery, we're going to look at the hurricane forecast paradox, the atmospheric shield, the rare Atlantic Niña, central versus eastern Niño patterns, and finally, why the deadly risk remains.
Section 1. The hurricane forecast paradox.
So, official models pointed decisively to a hyperactive season. We were looking at 13 to 19 named storms, 6 to 10 actual hurricanes, and up to 5 major ones. This was fueled mostly by record-breaking warmth. To put that into perspective, subtropical ocean waters averaged 73.4 degrees Fahrenheit this past May, which is a brand new record high. With that kind of heat, the ocean is basically high-octane storm fuel. But reality is painting a totally different picture right now. Defying all those dire predictions, early season observations show an eerily quiet ocean. Actually, the season's first Northern Hemisphere hurricane formed in the Eastern Pacific, making its latest debut in over 3 decades. On top of that, the Western Pacific and Northern Indian Oceans, which are usually super active by mid-year, have been notably inactive. So what on earth is suppressing these storms?
Section 2. The atmospheric shield.
The answer lies in 2 colossal ocean shifts teaming up across the globe. On one side, we have a boiling Pacific Super El Niño, which creates massive wind shear across the Atlantic basin. On the flip side, we have a rare cooling event called an Atlantic Niña, and that creates heavy, sinking air. When you combine them, they create an absolute fortress of high pressure that is literally choking out tropical storms before they can even get off the ground. This active defense system deploys in 4 brutal steps. First, high-speed easterly trade winds accelerate. Second, pressure shifts as heavy, stable air sinks over the Atlantic's main development region. Third, the Pacific El Niño engages violent upper-level wind shear. And finally, step 4, is storm decapitation. Mother Nature basically turns on a wind-shearing buzzsaw that violently shreds the tops off developing tropical depressions before they can organize into hurricanes. Section 3. Meet the Atlantic Niña. So what exactly is it? Well, the Atlantic Niña is a natural climate pattern characterized by cooler-than-average sea surface temperatures in the eastern equatorial Atlantic Ocean. Oceanographers call it the cold phase of the Atlantic zonal mode. Right now, incredibly strong trade winds are churning up deep, freezing water to the surface through a process called upwelling, creating this super rare event.
The physics here are simple, but highly effective at stopping storms in their tracks. Cold water cools the air directly above it, causing that air to become heavy and sink. By flattening the temperature differential between the tropics and subtropics, this sinking air creates a highly stable atmosphere. Without rising moisture, potential hurricanes are starved of their primary fuel source. It completely shuts down the nursery where our most destructive long-track hurricanes are born.
Section 4. Central versus Eastern Atlantic Niño. A deep dive into recent research reveals that the Atlantic actually produces 2 distinct types of temperature anomalies. You have the Eastern Atlantic Niño, which dominated from 1970 to 1999, and the Central Atlantic Niño, which really became prominent after the year 2000. And look, these aren't just subtle little shifts. They have vastly different impacts on our global climate and exactly how wind flows over the Americas. The canonical Eastern type has drastically weakened by about 50% over the past few decades. Scientists attribute this to a deepening thermocline. That basically means the boundary between warm surface water and cold deep water has shifted deeper, making the surface way less sensitive to changes underneath. This allowed the Central type to emerge as the dominant force, and it has a much stronger influence on driving global weather teleconnections, which is essentially the long-distance communication between different ocean basins. Over time, the central Atlantic Niño, despite an overall weakening of Atlantic variability recently, has maintained a really strong and steady remote influence on global weather phenomena, like the El Niño Southern Oscillation over in the Pacific. It's this exact complex interbasin communication that's currently helping to build that atmospheric shield protecting our coasts.
Section 5. Why the risk remains.
Okay, so if the Atlantic Niña is starving storms and the Pacific El Niño is decapitating them, can coastal residents and the insurance industry finally just relax? Absolutely not. As NOAA's acting administrator Laura Grimm warns, despite recent quiet periods and a slow start, hurricane risks remain elevated. Why? Because while the shield reduces the overall quantity of storms, it doesn't eliminate the catastrophic volatility of a single system breaking through. History is incredibly clear on this. Just take the notoriously quiet El Niño suppressed season of 1992. The total storm counts were incredibly low. But that exact same environment still produced Hurricane Andrew, a devastating Category 5 monster that flattened parts of the coast. Low seasonal totals can easily mask deadly volatility. And this leaves us with a pretty chilling realization to close out our explainer today. We're sitting under a massive atmospheric force field right now. But Mother Nature is wildly unpredictable. It literally only takes one landfalling hurricane to completely redefine the entire season. So my question to you is this. As these ocean patterns violently shift, are we truly prepared for the one freak storm that beats the odds? Keep that emergency kit ready, stay vigilant, and thank you so much for joining me to unpack the fascinating science behind this year's meteorological mystery.